Okay, so it's been about 3 months now since I had the engine completely apart, or dropped the engine for the video. And today, on Memorial Day, I got almost all of it put together, rebuilt, back on the K-member, almost ready to go back inside the car. Anyway, it took a little while because the machine shop, took a little while on the block. And then I sent my stuff off to Lloyd, Elliot. That took a little bit too. I don't know if you can see it, but right there. I got LT1 heads from him. I got also a custom camshaft done from him. It's a 231, 239 with the 606 and 624 lift, I think, with a 110 LSA. That's with 1.6 rockers. It's a pretty big cam, I think, for this, but I want a big cam. I'll rev it pretty high. I took the engine completely apart, found out it was already bore 30 over, had some keep black pistons in it. I put in some scat forged rods with ARP hardware. I honed the block, fouled the rings, and did all that. That was my first time doing it. While I had the engine out, I painted the engine bay. It's not too bad. Just AutoZone Victory Red with a clear coat. Probably looks better than paint on the car, actually. Right, Jusica? She doesn't know what to say. She's camera shy. So, some people wonder, like, how you keep track of the harness or whatever. When you put it on, it pretty much lines up. Once you get you should be able to know what the injectors are. They're written which number they go on. So, I don't know if I can get the focus, but see that it says number 6 right there. So you get them to line up, and the harness will fall into place. Just so you gotta recognize all the sensors like TPS and your IEC, your water pump, your opti plug, your alternator. I got my harness basically completely connected. So when I put the engine in the car, all I will have to do is hook up the battery, hook up the PCM, and run this part back to the inside of the car. The little 4 things come out of the grommet or whatever. I also forgot to mention that I got my intake port as well by him. A couple of setbacks today. A freaking accessory bracket kept stripping. My power steering pump bolts were stripped out, and I had to drill and retap those. And putting the intake on, I guess, it has thinner head gaskets and it's milled a little bit, so it sits at a different angle. So 2 of those bolts stripped, but I pulled the intake off and retapped them, luckily. I guess the only thing really I have left to do, because I'm changing the exhaust, I'm going to a true dual X pipe. I have to weld on the flanges right here, and then I can hook it up. It should be good to go. Just roll it in, drop it down, connect the K-member, the transmission cross member, brake lines, a couple of sensors, and it's good to go. I'll have to fab up my exhaust, but it shouldn't be too hard. I think that's it. Anything else, Jusica?
I think that's it.
Okay, so the whole reason I did this in the first place was because I got my car. My car was slowly doing this, getting worse over time. It started running really rough, like it was missing at the beginning. Give a little bit of throttle and it would clear out. Anyway, that just persistently got worse. I finally got to a point where it just constantly did it. So I did some diagnostics and finally got to a compression test, and Well, the number one cylinder had 0 compression, and a couple of other ones were really low. So this is why I ended up doing this. I'll show you why in a second, but some people also were wondering how I lift the car. Well, I run this tow strap thing through the overflow hole and through the intake hole, the intake filter hole. Some people like to just wrap a chain around the radiator support, but that might bend it a little bit. So I found this to be a little nicer to the car. We just run it through a couple times and lift it right there at the center, and it'll lift the car. So back to the why I took the engine apart. Anyway, I got the engine out. I'm down to the head, taking the rocker arms off, and my girlfriend has a valve spring in her hand. She's like, "What do you want to do with the valve springs?" I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, the valve springs. I was like, "Those are on the car. You can't take those off." But turn around, she has a freaking valve spring in her hand. Turns out. So I go look at that. I go look at that cylinder, and on that freaking head, the exhaust valve was bent. I don't know how I was able to drive it from Dallas to Fort Worth like that. Surprised it didn't fall. But it got wedged in the head and bent the valve guide, which sucks because when I did this whole thing, I didn't intend to have to get new heads, because I already had some work done on these. I already had them ported. I have bronze valve guides put in, some of them. I don't know why all of them weren't done, thanks to Rob Morrison. So these were already ported. I already had a ported intake and all that. So I'm just looking around at the heads, and well, I figured out why I have low compression. It's freaking little holes in some of the runners. There's a hole right there. A hole right there. A hole right there. And I don't think this one has a hole. No, there was just 3 holes in this head. And that sucks. I already had these ported and everything before. So now they're just really big paperweights. Let's see which head it was. It was a number 1 cylinder. The exhaust, valve guide. It's cracked from the bent exhaust valve. This head doesn't have any broken guides, but this one also has some holes in the runners, whatever you call them, ports. There's a hole right there. And this one doesn't have a hole. That one. I think this one only has 1 hole, so there you go. Waste of $1,200 on these heads. Lloyd said if I wanted to, I could probably have them welded up, but I don't really have the money for that right now after spending what I spent on this whole engine project. So, scrap metal, make something out of them, I don't know. If y'all have any ideas, I don't really know what I can do with cylinder heads. Well, freaking blocks, you can make a table of them or something. It sucks. But that's racing, I guess.